Belina Kako. Welcome to episode 11 of Hanohano Lānaʻi, a series brought to you by Love Lānaʻi. Through this series, we delve into the unique history and culture of our beloved home. On this episode, we'll learn about the tradition of Puʻupehe. Puʻupehe is one of the most iconic landmarks on Lānaʻi. The islet is located offshore of Aipuhi Bay, the southern portion of Hula Poʻe. Archaeologist Kenneth Emery describes Puʻupehe as a sea tower that sits about 150 feet offshore. The islet stands about 80 feet high and about 70 feet in diameter. Let's learn about the cultural significance of this storied landmark. The tradition of Puʻupehe that we are most familiar with is recorded in the March 3, 1867 issue of the Hawaiian Gazette. It was authored by Walter Murray Gibson, who indicated that he learned the Moʻolelo from Piʻia Nai'a, an ali'i or chief that was on Lānaʻi while in the court of Kamehameha. Puʻupehe was the daughter of Uaua, a lesser chief. Her love was won by a man named Makakehau, a handsome warrior. It is noted that Puʻupehe was very beautiful. Gibson writes that she shined like the clear sun rising out of Haleakala. Makakehau was very jealous and feared that her attractiveness would cause her to be coveted by many other suitors, and he desired to keep her all to himself. He hid her in the cave known as Malauea along the rocky coastline surrounding Hula Poʻe. During the summer in Hawaii, the Kona storms, or southern storms, make their way up from the equator and hurl the ocean violently upon the southern shores of the islands. One day, Makakehau left Puʻupehe in the sea cave while he journeyed Iuka to the uplands, to the mountain spring to gather water. While he was away, a great storm emerged and great squalls of rain and howling wind rushed across the uplands. He realized suddenly that the storm would fill the sea cave and kill Puʻupehe. He put aside his tasks and rushed down to the coastline in an effort to save Puʻupehe. The sea was up indeed. A rushing mountain of surf and surge inundated the cave. Puʻupehe was defenseless against the raging surf, and by the time Makakehau descended back down to the coastline, Puʻupehe was lifeless, succumbing to the devastating seas. The next day, when dawn broke, fishermen heard the lamentation of Makakehau. Puʻupehe's body was prepared for burial. Her corpse was wrapped in kapa and adorned with lei of na'u blossoms, the native gardenia. Makakehau requested one more night to mourn his lost love, and the next morning, he and Puʻupehe's body were nowhere to be found. After some time, Makakehau was found on the precipice of the sea tower, where he was observed constructing a cairn to mark the grave of Puʻupehe. When he finished, Makakehau leapt to his own death from the top of the sea tower into the ocean below. Moʻolelo were purveyed throughout the generations to communicate important lessons. There are several lessons that may be learned from this tradition. The first lesson is that one should not be jealous. As the saying goes, jealousy is the root of all evil. Another lesson that may be learned is that one should not exercise selfishness. Native Hawaiian scholar and historian David Malo writes that greediness and possessiveness were viewed as great faults. In 1921, Bishop Museum archaeologist Kenneth P. Emery conducted an excavation of the cultural site located on top of the Puʻupehe Sea Tower. Emery notes, excavations into the 2 inches of soil which overlies bedrock revealed no human remains, but within and under the structure and scattered over the top of the island were the bones of many birds, mostly terns, also many eggshells. It has occurred to me that the platform on Puʻupehe may have been a shrine used by the bird hunters. Puʻupehe was an island abundant with birds, and its name, meaning Owl Trap Hill, may be a reflection of its use by bird hunters. Native Hawaiians found several uses for various birds. Some birds were eaten, while other birds were carefully captured for their feathers to be harvested. Birds that were snared for their feathers were released alive after only a few feathers were plucked from each animal. Featherwork such as lehulu, ahu'ula, and kahili were crafted as regalia for the ali'i, the chiefly class. Ki'i, or idols used for spiritual worship, were also crafted with feathers. Regardless of whether or not the events recounted in the tradition of Puʻupehe did actually occur, the Moʻolelo perpetuates insight of native residents that came before us. It is important that we perpetuate these traditions and thus Perpetuate place names that are historically and culturally accurate so that our culture and the ways of our ancestors live on. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for watching. Until next time, e mālama, ahui ho.